Awesome. So welcome to today's lecture on profile. So yeah, this is fun. Profile is really interesting because it's talking really about kind of your character, the role that you're here to play in this life. If you were, if all of life were a stage, your profile is the part that you play and this character of who you are. And this is the kind of information that I'll be sharing today is the kind of information that your clients, people that you meet, are going to love learning about themselves. They'll immediately identify with their profile and feel seen and understood. And it's kind of like one of those magic party tricks that you can pull out of your hat and say, hey, based on your birth date, this is, some cool stuff that I know about you. It's also profound. And I mean, there's also a lot of relief that can come from really understanding your profile. So yeah, I'm going to go into it and we'll see what transpires. I'm looking forward to this. To sharing this with you. So, okay, so I don't really understand hexagrams. Let's just start there. Hexagrams, there are 64 hexagrams and they come from the I Ching. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese text. That's, wow. Oh, I need to turn my phone off. So full of wisdom and insight. So it's definitely worth investigating if if you're into this stuff and you're interested. The book that I have that I really like about the I Ching is the book called Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. It's Gene, G-E-N-E, Keys. Richard Rudd, and Rudd is R-U-D-D. It's a big, massive book, and I lug that book with me wherever I go because it goes into all 64 of the hexagrams and what they mean, and where you're gonna see the hexagrams are in the gates that you have activated. So each one of these numbers in your chart, these little numbers here, actually have, a profound meaning that you can investigate and learn about yourself, and you can investigate and learn about others. So the anatomy of a hexagram is that a hexagram is made up of 6 lines. 1 through 6 starting at the bottom, stacked upwards. The lines are either yin or yang. Yin being the receptive, feminine, inward breath, and yang being the, masculine, creative, breathing out, expressing. So yeah, the hexagrams are built from the bottom up and either are a yin line or a yang line, 1 through 6. And they're made up of 2 sets of 3, so 2 trigrams. So the first numbers, 1 through 3, the first lines of the hexagram, 1 through 3, are all focused personally on their own process. So if you have a 1, a 2, or a 3 in your profile, then that part of you is, it's all about you. It's about you living your own personal trajectory, your own personal process, and focused inward. And then the top part of the hexagram The second trigram, numbers 4, 5, and 6, are all transpersonal or focused outward on others. And, you know, so, you know, if you have a 4, 5, or 6 in your profile, that part of you is going to be really about others and focused on other people. And some of the profiles have a transpersonal destiny. Some of them have a personal destiny. Okay. So when we talk about profile, there are 2 numbers in your profile. There are, you know, the first number is your personality. So, you know, when we talk about a profile, we're looking at something like a 1-3 or a 2-4, a 4-1, a 4-6. So there's a first number, there's a second number. The first number is your conscious self. The second number is your unconscious self or your body. And after we do the lecture, in our conversation, we can look at some of the charts, and I'll show you where you can find profile in the chart, so that you can, you know, that you can easily read this for someone whenever you look at a chart. So, yeah, so when we think about profile, well, first of all, it's nice to understand the lines and what they mean, because they're basically different roles that you can be playing. And those roles have certain behavior that is associated with them. So one of the things you'll notice in a chart, I'm just going to bring up a chart here for a second. Let me find one. Where are our charts? Okay, yeah, so here's my chart. And one of the things you'll notice, you know, the top 2 gates on my personality side, the 34.4 and the 20.4, both have a 4. And then the top 2 gates on my design side, 59.6 and 55.6, both have a 6. So what that reveals, my profile is a 4-6. So that's where you find profile in the chart. And you'll also notice that every gate, so every hexagram in your chart, and there are, again, 13 gates that are activated on the personality side and 13 gates that are activated on the design side. Every hexagram or gate that's activated, it also has a line associated with it. It has a 0.1 or it has a 0.2 or, you know, a 0.3 or a 0.5. So that means that, you know, this particular gate is going to be flavored by the 4. So like this gate here, the 26.5, so the gate 26 is the gate of the egotist. So this is a person who is kind of really good at sales, at kind of expressing ideas in a way that can enroll people in wanting to buy into them. And, you know, this part of me would be influenced by the 5, which is the heretic. Okay. So when you start looking at each gate through the lens of, oh, it's also influenced by, you know, the 3, then you kind of get a new flavor to that gate. All right, I think that's enough about that. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so when we look at the profile, there are really 2 floors, you know, the lower trigram and then the upper trigram. And you can think of this in terms of the floors of a house. So, you know, the 1 here is focused on the foundation. And, you know, then we move through the 2, who's the natural, kind of inside the house, doing their thing. The 3, who's moving towards the 2nd floor. They're the last number in the lower trigram. So it's a process that builds on itself. Then we have the 4. The 4 is the first number of the upper trigram. So the 4 is like, in a way, the 1, where the 4 is still focused on the foundation, but it's the foundation of the 2nd floor. The 5 and then the 6 on the roof. So it's a process, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can also look at the numbers in terms of an evolution of consciousness, or like a flow of information from the foundation all the way up to the roof, to the, you know, the very bigger picture. I feel like I'm not explaining this that well, but okay, we'll just keep going here. Okay, so first line 1. This is the investigator. The line 1 is all about investigating the foundation. These people have an innate and natural sense of insecurity about their environment and about the people in their environment, and they're looking out into the world, trying to figure out what is solid, what is secure, what can they rely on, what information is really true, what information isn't true, what people are really, you know, solid and reliable, what people have some funky, unspoken, you know, intentions. They're really wary of the world in that way. They're investigating, they're doing a lot of research in the process. So they're active in their process of investigation. These people spend time investigating. So there's an introspective quality that goes along with a 1, because they need to have that time to kind of figure things out and assess things. So they're researching on the internet, they're finding out information, they're figuring things out. These people, you know, can be in a relationship with someone for 30 years and still be kind of wary of their motives if there's something inconsistent about, you know, the way someone shows up or what they say or do. So they're constantly analyzing people in terms of, is this secure or not? And when you become insecure in their eyes, you know, they can be forever wary of you from that point onwards. That's one thing have noticed. Okay, every profile has a bonding strategy. So this is the way that you connect. And the first number in the personality wise is going to show you your bonding strategy, and then in the second number, your unconscious self, that's going to show you how you actually connect sexually. So I'll explain that again at the end so you can kind of understand how that works. But for example, the bonding strategy for the first line is pursuer and pursued. So they like to play that game of pursuing someone or then being pursued. That's what's going to help them connect with someone. So a 1-3, their bonding strategy would be pursuer pursued, because the 1 is the personality, it's the first number. If that person were a 5-1, now the 1 is not their personality, it's their unconscious or the body. So now pursuer pursued becomes their sexual strategy. This is how the 5-1 gets kind of engaged sexually, is they want to be pursued by someone, or they want to pursue someone. All right. Yeah, security strategy to me is like how someone relates to security on the material plane. Okay. Okay, so the second line, the line 2, this person is called, or the profile is called the Hermit. This line is called the Hermit. The Hermit, it's also the natural. These people are considered geniuses. They have a natural, innate ability with certain things, but they don't know what they have a natural, innate ability with. And so they're just sort of emanating a natural gift or a natural genius that they're projecting it out into the world, and other people recognize them for that and then want to call them out and ask them to do it in the world. So in some ways it's a little like a projector, where they're just sort of putting out a vibe and then other people are recognizing them for it. Here's an example of that. This would be the man who's at home doing his thing. He loves gardening. He's got a green thumb, and he creates a beautiful garden in his backyard. And he's not even aware that this garden is exceptionally beautiful until his neighbor comes over, and his neighbor comes into the backyard, and it's like, this garden oasis with lavish flowers and fountains and pathways, and it's this like magical labyrinth that's truly exceptional. And the neighbor said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea that this was your ability. Can you do this for me at my house?" And the Hermit is kind of like, "Hey, I don't do anything for anyone at anyone's house. This is just something I putter away at in the backyard. This is nothing." So the 2s, they are hermits. They like to be alone. They like to just be away from life. They don't want their aloneness to be disturbed. And then someone kind of breaks into their world and starts calling them out and say "Hey, wow, you have this amazing gift. I'd love for you to do, to share that or to do that for me." So line 2s, they're here to be called out for their innate natural gifts, and then to respond through their strategy and authority to the right calls. Their bonding strategy is they kind of oscillate between being really shy, and then all of a sudden bold. So again, like for a 2-4, the way that they would connect would be, oh, like shy, and then all of a sudden, boom, they might say something bold or do something bold. A 6-2, since that, you know, the 2 is now the second number, they're unconscious, you know, shy, bold would be their sexual strategy. So that's how they would engage sexually, is they would be kind of shy and then they would be bold. Their security strategy is that they're either experiencing things that are nourishing or they're experiencing things that are depleting. You know, the kind of opposites here, this is the idea that there's a binary, that we live in duality. So these things express as opposites. Okay, the third line. The 3s are the martyrs. Martyrs are engaged in the physical world. They're engaged on the material plane. They're engaged with things like their health, with wealth, with the house, fixing the plumbing, the, you know, working out, building their muscles, like sports. They're engaged in the fray and the chaos of life and business and even relationships. They're figuring out how things work on the material plane through a trial and error process that really does feel chaotic. These people are here to move things from chaos into order. So they work well in the realm of chaos, in the realm of things being sometimes challenging. Both of my sister and her husband are both 1-3s, and they bought like a little homestead, and they've only owned it for a couple years, but in that time, oh my God, the chaos, it's unbelievable. Like the roof breaking, the pipes breaking, the plumbing, the sewage, the bathroom remodeling, they are experiencing one chaos on the material plane after another, sometimes all at once. And that is like a 1-3, has this experience. I've dated a few people with 3s in their profile, and they when I find out they have a 3, it's like, oh, okay, I'm prepared for them to break my wine glasses and drop things, and for us to fall, and the 3s bump into things. They're designed to kind of bump into life. I have an activity that I always do at Discover Your Genius, the workshop, and it's a physical activity where you're engaged with a partner and you're kind of playing physically. And I did this once with a 6-3, and and at the end of the activity, I had like bruises and rug burn from just interacting with this 3, because this is 3s bump into things. They have things bump into them. It's part of their process. And so one of the encouraging things that you can do for a 3, and if you are a 3, is just to really give yourself the mentality that there is no such thing as mistakes. that there's only learning, that your process is a process of discovery, and discovery that can only happen through real life experiences that show you what works and what doesn't. Threes don't learn from book knowledge. They don't learn from someone telling them, oh, I wouldn't do that. No, they have to learn through trial and error. They have to learn through real life, you know, the school of life. And life is schooling them. It's bringing them experiences, it's bringing them people, it's bringing them, you know, different things that show them what works and what doesn't. Threes are very mutative. So they're here, like, you know, individuals to bring mutation or change to others. So they're naturally like adaptable people. They're very resilient. They're, you know, they're a little bit tougher. They're made to undergo this trial and error process. I talked to a friend who's a 1-3, and she was saying, like, I've talked to actually quite a few people with 3s in their profile who have had all kinds of diseases, you know, and some of these diseases are serious things like Lyme's disease or HPV, things that, you know, people don't necessarily recover from. And they're like, oh yeah, I had that, you know, oh, I figured that one out, you know, like I figured out how to get beyond that one. They're more resilient. They're built to go through this trial and error process. Bonding strategy for the 3 is bonds made and broken. This means a few things. One, they like to make and break bonds. So you know, there's a natural ebb and flow with a 3 where I've noticed, like, they'll like to, like, hey, I'm gonna leave now and then come back. Like, if they're, you know, your partner, they're kind of like into coming and going. And even just that is a making and breaking of bonds, where they're going off on their own, then they're coming back and reestablishing the bond. People will make and break bonds with 3s, where out of their control, someone will break it off and leave their life. But then oftentimes will come back later and reestablish the bond. And then people with a 3 in their profile will also kind of have a tendency to be like, no, I'm cutting this bond off and I'm gonna move on. So they can be thinking in that way. As a sexual strategy, so let's say a 6-3, for example. So the 3 would be in this second number, the unconscious. These people could be potentially someone who's well suited to having multiple relationships or kind of playing around, making and breaking bonds. You know, if they're in a monogamous relationship, I don't know exactly what that would look like, but that's, yeah, I'd be curious actually about that. And then I guess their security strategies also bonds made and broken. I don't know how that works. Maybe you guys can tell me, since there's a lot of 3s in their group when we discuss that. So those are the first 3 lines. So we have the investigator, who's kind of figuring out the foundation on the information level of what they can really trust or not. The hermit, you know, who in a way is also investigating. They're really honing in on their thing, their art, what they're into. which is ultimately something that they end up being called out to share, but usually it's something they're cultivating just on their own in the privacy of their own world. And the nakedness is, you know, these people are without wanting to be kind of exposed, that they're like a hermit crab that just wants to be enclosed in its own little house doing its own little thing, but inside it's actually like this tender, gushy thing that's vulnerable. And so there can be a vulnerability with twos that it's quite endearing, actually. And so they're cultivating abilities that they just naturally are interested in on their own time, that then they, you know, end up being called out for. You know, threes are engaged in learning about what works and what doesn't, but they're engaged in that through, you know, the process of being involved in the fray of life. So that's the lower 3 lines, the lower trigram. So the 4th line is called the Opportunist, and this is the first line of the upper trigram. 4s are opportunists in the sense that their personality, their self, is designed to, or their role would be a better way of saying it, is to have the right opportunities come to them so that they can externalize or express their influence. So these people are here to express their influence. They're here to share what they know in a way that influences people. And it doesn't influence just anyone, it influences friends of friends, people in their network. 4s are friendly. They exude a warmth and a friendliness. They are natural with their people. They are natural networkers. They're natural at connecting with people, and they have a frailty or a fragility about them that that means that they really can't influence people who are strangers, because strangers are less safe. You know, someone who's famous has to deal with a lot of haters, has to deal with a lot of pushback from the outside world while they're influencing. And 4s are not made to withstand that kind of pushback. One of the things that happens for 4s when they're influencing is if someone's resisting them and doesn't, you know, let's say agree or wants to argue with them, the 4 will abdicate. The 4 will say, hey, oh yeah, no, they won't continue influencing. They won't kind of persist through that. They will give up, and you know that has to do with the friendliness. So if you're a 4, I'm a 4/6, so I really found it super valuable to learn about the friendliness part of this. You know, you're really here to influence friends. So if someone doesn't feel friendly and the connection isn't friendly, I would definitely set things up so that you are able to be in the milieu of your friends, and that everything about your work and your life has a friendly quality to it. That way you're protecting yourself from the unpleasantness that would go along with kind of exposing yourself to unfriendly opportunities. Okay, and also the other cool thing about this is, like, 4s naturally like to influence others, and they are influential. They know they know how to influence people. They know how to say things in a way that's going to be influential. So they're here to have the right opportunities come to them through their network. So that's something you can really trust and rely on, is that the right things are going to find you through your network. And it will come through connections that you maintain purely because you enjoy the friendship. So 4s, especially if it's the first line, if it's part of your personality, 4s end up spending a lot of their time and energy just maintaining connections and spreading themselves out among friends and continuing the conversation and continuing the connection. That takes a lot of time and energy to maintain a network. So they spend a lot of their time just doing that. And that's what yields the opportunities over time. The challenge of that is that it's exhausting, because people in their network are confiding in 4s. They're telling them about their troubles. They're telling them about what's going on in their life, and the 4 is then able to influence them. But all of that people interaction can really lead to fatigue or people burnout for the 4. So then the 4 will want to kind of retreat, and like this woman here lying in bed, exhausted. I can certainly relate to that photo. Sometimes it boggles my mind. Like last night I was feeling exhausted, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go. I ordered some food. There's a little restaurant down the street. I ordered some food to go. So I go to the restaurant and I see my friend. And he's like, hey, like, come sit with us. And so I came and sat with them. And like, this is like a 60-something-year-old man. He's just really endeared by me. And he always wants me to come over and play guitar and stuff. And, he was kind of guilting me a little bit for not hanging out with him more. And I was like, oh my God, if you had any idea how many people are connecting with me all the time, and how many people are asking for some of my time and focus, you would really let me off the hook, because you feel like you want me to spend more time with you, but I also have all these other people that want me to spend time. So but knowing this about the 4, it's like, oh, that's just a part of my life, is that I'm here to kind of spread myself out among friends. But it definitely has an exhausting aspect to it. The bonding strategy for the 4 is confidant or not. So they are, they're looking out to others as, is this someone that I can confide in or not? They love to be able to really share with someone what's really going on inside of them. And they also have lots of people confiding in them. The security strategy of the 4 is benefactor dependent. So they will tend to oftentimes be a dependent for a lot of their early life, where they're actually depending on a benefactor in their life to support them as they develop their ability to then, they have to develop themselves enough to be able to be influential, to have wisdom to influence other people. So to be able to influence someone, like, you have to know something. You have to know some information that's influential. Like, you can't just, you have to have something valuable to share. So 4s can spend early time of their life developing what they have to share to be influential, and then once they finally do kind of get their feet under them, and they are in the swing of things, sharing their influence, they can become benefactors to others, but they tend to be late bloomers. Okay. the 5. The 5 is the heretic. Like the 4, the 4 is focused outwards on others. The 5 is also focused outwards on others. The 4 is influencing, but only within a network. The 5 is influencing in the realm of universalization. So one of the key words for the 4 is externalization, so like expression. The 5 is universalization, where they have a message to share that's of universal benefit, that's here to be shared and distributed in the widespread arena. A word that could be associated with the 5 is fame. These people are here to be strangers of consequence. Someone who comes into your life and does something significant and is a memorable stranger. 5s, they're here to be interacting with strangers. So they need to be in a place where they can be kind of mixing in life in a way that they're intersecting with people they don't know. That could be on the internet, it could be in a certain setting like a hospital. My good friend Rory, the ski patroller, he's a 5-1, and the ski patrolling was a perfect example of him being a stranger of consequence, where all day he was intercepting with strangers who broke themselves on the ski hill, and who were injured and needed some help, and and here he comes along and then saves them, and they never forget the guy who helped them when they broke their leg at the ski hill. So that was a perfect milieu or environment for a 5-1, is where he's intercepting all the time with strangers. So 5s exist in a projection field. So the way I kind of picture that is like they have almost like a bubble around them, where when someone looks at them, they don't actually see the person, they see a savior. They see in the 5 something that they see that they could get from the 5, that the 5 could provide for them. They might see a solution that they need, and they want something from the 5 in order to help them. 5s are here to be a savior, so they're here to provide a solution to other people. They are incredibly knowledgeable for this reason. So they know a ton about everything. And the reason they know a ton about everything is they need to be prepared for the moment when someone asks them to provide a solution, and that they can then provide the solution. So people are projecting onto them that they can provide a solution and save them. And part of that is true. It's like they actually can provide a solution and save other people, because they're just designed that way. They know a lot, and they're very kind of helpful and handy people to get to intercept with. One of the things about the 5 that I think would be kind of annoying, but I don't really know, I'm sure it's just kind of a how it is type thing, is when the 5 delivers the good and provides a solution and does save someone else, it's not really necessarily like celebrated. It's just sort of expected that they're going to be able to do it. But when they don't provide the solution and they don't deliver the goods, they get burned at the stake. So they get their reputation tarnished, they get a consequence. So it's really important for 5s to enter into the right situations to deliver the goods. And they do that through strategy and authority. So an example of this that I witnessed many, many times with Rory, the ski patroller, is that he was super tuned into his intuition, and he would, in some situations where there was an accident and where maybe he was the closest person there to be able to respond, for whatever reason, he got a sense that it wasn't the right place for him, he would not go near it. He would be silent, he would ski by, he would avoid the situation. And his nickname at the ski hill was Ghost. And the reason his nickname was Ghost was because he made himself scarce. And he would hide in the trees. Don't tell anyone this. I maybe shouldn't be telling you that, but hopefully none of you are his boss or something. So anyway, he would hide in the trees and just generally make himself scarce, so no one really knew where he was throughout the day, until he was needed, and he would show up on the scene at the right time, in the right place, and he would oftentimes emerge from the forest, and people would be like, "Where did you come from?" And that's how he became known as the Ghost. And this is significant for a couple reasons. One is that I can really see how in many situations where he should have responded to an accident and didn't, he was maintaining his reputation as someone who can deliver the goods, and that's so important. That's something as a 5 that you really need to protect, because your reputation is so important. When it gets tarnished, it can be really difficult for a 5 to recover from that. So you don't want to enter into the wrong situation and get involved with a situation where you are expected to deliver the goods and you can't. So that's one thing about it that's cool. The other thing about it that's being called the Ghost that I think is really cool is that, because 5s are always being projected onto to provide a solution, the longer you stick around with people, the more they're going to see in you what they want from you. So it's kind of a good practice for a 5 to, in general, make themselves scarce, to not hang out with people too much, because the more you spend time with people, the more they're going to want a solution from you of some kind, the more demands they're going to make of you. So, whether or not it was like conscious, I think Rory picked up on that, and he just kind of made himself scarce and then only arrived on scene in certain situations where he knew he could be the savior. And, he has a really pristine reputation as a ski patroller as a result. And I think that's shown in this picture here with this person kind of peering out from behind the blinds. It's a good resting position for a 5, is to peer out and then pop in and do their amazing thing to distribute their influence and to share a message. This is like the Martin Luther King, like, I have a dream, this is my vision, and there's a heresy about the heretic in that they're here universalizing something that's new, like a new message, like I have a dream. It wasn't a vision of what is, it was a vision of a new possibility. So they do have this sort of tentative place that they occupy where they are sharing something new or different that could kind of go either way, where it could be seen as a heresy, or it could be widely accepted and make them this savior. So they're kind of on that tightrope are they going to be seen as the heretic, or are they going to be seen as the savior? And one thing that can kind of boost a 5 is having a 6 in their life. The 6 is the role model. We'll get to that in a minute here. But the 6 is kind of seen as an objective resource. And a 6, I have seen, as I have a 6 in my profile, that I have boosted the reputation of several 5s by my association with them, because people can be a little wary of a 5. They can be like, I kind of like what that guy, is saying about his dream, but maybe he's crazy. I don't know. I can't tell if he's a savior, or I can't tell if he's a heretic. I'm not sure. I'm undecided. I don't know if I should listen to him or not. And what the 6 can do is come along and say, wow, that person's vision is really solid. And wow, I'm listening to what that person has to say, and boost the reputation of the 5. The bonding strategy is seducer and seduced. People that are 5s are seductive. They definitely have a seductive quality to them. Their very being is seductive, and that's part of their universalization, is that they kind of seduce you into their vision. Their security strategy is to hoard information, to hoard objects even, and then distribute widely. So they're, I have 2 friends that have a business. They're both 3/5s, and really their business is about distributing. They are here to help people distribute information. So they're people who have a focus on distributing. And I have seen that people with 5s in their profile can end up very easily becoming, having a lot of success, with social media or things where they're able to distribute their information widely. Where I think if I were to do the exact same strategy, being a 4/6, it would be not nearly as successful, because I'm not designed for fame, and I wouldn't even be drawn to those strategies anyway. Okay. All right, so we're talking about the final line in the hexagram, and this is the 3rd line of the upper trigram, the 6, which is also called the role model. The 6 goes through a 3-part life, 3 phases. So the first phase is 0 to 30 years old. The 6 is actually engaging in life as if it were a 3. So for the first 30 years of life, they're the martyr. They're learning through trial and error. They're engaged in the fray and the chaos of the material plane, finding out what works and what doesn't, being bumping into things. All the things that I already shared about the 3 would be what a 6 is in the first 30 years of its life. In the next phase, they, from 30 to 50, they are called on the roof. So this is where they kind of remove themselves from the fray of life and the chaos of being the martyr, and they crawl up exhausted onto the roof, where they can just kind of be a little bit detached from life and taking an objective view from way up high of, oh, that's interesting over there what that person is doing, and what, they're learning about what works and what doesn't, but they're learning about it by observing from a kind of detached viewpoint. And in that second phase, they're also healing. They're healing from the traumas of living the first 30 years of their life as a 3 without actually having the resilience of a 3. You know, the 3s, as I said, they're actually designed to kind of bump into things and to go through that trial and error process. And you know, anyone who's a 6 and doesn't actually have a 3 in their profile, they aren't built as well to withstand the bumps and bruises of that chaos. And so they can get a little beaten up by the first 30 years of their life and need to heal. So the time in the second phase is about healing. They actually, you know, they get a breath, they get some time to breathe and detach from life a little bit. You know, this is for me as a 4/6, so my unconscious self is a 6. I see that, you know, my friend Fia Lynn used to make fun of me because I would throughout our friendship, you know, tell her new parts about my life. Like, oh yeah, well, when I was in, you know, Africa living in a little village, this happened. And, oh yeah, when I started a dance event, you know, this happened. Or when I was an artist doing shows, you know, this happened. Oh yeah, when I was like whitewater canoeing down, you know, a remote northern Canadian river, this happened. And, you know, like, oh, when I was on exchange in France, this happened. Like, I lived so many lives in the first 30 years of my life. I did so many things. It was a nonstop, chaotic, ongoing experiences. And then, you know, from after 30, I think I gradually made it up to the roof, and I think it really solidified with coming here down to Mexico, where, you know, I was really able to take a breather from all of that and have some space and some time to be detached from life. And one of the words for a 6 would be aloof. That 6s they are aloof. They kind of want to be apart. You know, if they were part of a community in a village, they're the person living, the wise fool up on the hill that people go up to see, but they don't want to live in the community. They want to live up at top of the hill, aloof and removed, so that they can be apart and objective and observing. Yeah. So then after that second phase is where they are sought out as an objective authority. So people look to them for an objective perspective from 30 to 50. After 50, this is when the role model actually becomes the role model. This is where they, you know, potentially become a real living example of individuality. And for that, there is no template. That means that they are truly themselves, living as themselves as an individual. And really, that's the end of the process. Everything that, you know, the whole process from the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and then the 6 off of the roof is the finishing. It's like the crescendo, where here we have a person who's, you know, almost taken everything that's come through that process and is now a living example of what it means to be individual. And part of that is the off the roof part, is that they're no longer up and detached from life. They're actually, again, engaged in the fray of life. But here they're engaged as an individual. The 6s are highly mutative. So they are people who bring transformation, and they bring transformation through their example. So what better example than that is than Gandhi, Gandhi is someone whose example is so memorable, is so mutative, is so penetrating that we can't forget who he was and how he lived. Sixes are, they're role models, so the people are paying attention to your example, what in your behavior and what you actually do, not what you say. So integrity is really important for a six, and they can't really get away with being a hypocrite. And they are people who are idealists. They're really looking for perfect love. They have high standards. They are exacting when it comes to someone being trustworthy or not. So they're looking to really trust someone. And if someone betrays their trust, they will, a six will never let them in again at that level. Their bonding strategy is they're looking for a soulmate. So, if you're looking at a 6-2, the first thing that person is looking to when they're connecting with you is for a soulmate. And so, that's a pretty high standard to have. So those people, I've noticed with 6-2s, I always feel a little bit of pressure with a 6-2 to be a better person, to be more ideal expression of myself, because they are really kind of an ideal person. They communicate in an ideal way. They have a lot of integrity and all that. And if the 6 is part of your unconscious, like the 4-6, that's your sexual strategy. So in order for you to really engage with someone sexually, you're looking for a soulmate. That's what's going to turn your crank. And then security-wise, they're looking for something that they can trust. Anything else I want to say about the 6? Well, the 6, is about transition. They're here at the end of the process of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so they're here to transition us back into a new phase. And they are highly mutative. So 6s can really truly, like if someone looks at me, they can see someone who has transformed many times over, radically. And like, I can't even understand, people are like, oh yeah, this person's been my friend for like 20 years or 50 years, I'm like, I don't have any friends that I've had for a long time because I am not the same person. I don't even relate to those people that I used to know 10 years ago. It's like I have nothing in common with them because I'm not, that Karen died and then a new Karen was born. So that's a mutative person. That's pretty common for a 6 to do that kind of mutation inside of themselves. And then, potentially to be able to help others mutate as well. So if if the 6 is part of your personality, people are going to really be looking to you as an example, and you'll be probably more consciously aware of being a role model. And then if the 6 is unconscious, your physical body is an example. And I definitely notice that, like if I'm at a yoga class and I do the pose wrong and I'm just a participant in the class, there would be a few other people that followed me in doing it wrong. Because I'm a role model, whether physically I'm a role model, whether or not I'm aware of it. People are paying attention to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Okay, so that is profile. That is all the numbers of the profile. And I'm really keen to hear about your observations and how you experience this. So we'll leave it at that for right now.